Welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Ann Thompson from IndieWire. Before we are joined by our guests today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given nearly $7 million in COVID relief to more than 7,000 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. And without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce actors Clifton Collins Jr., Moises Arias, and Molly Parker of JOCKEY. Congratulations all. This is a remarkable movie. I saw it at Sundance. Tell us a little bit about the experience of showing it at Sundance, what that was like, and in this weird virtual universe that we're in now. Maybe Clifton, you want to start us off there?
Sure. We were coming right out of COVID, and you got to make do with whatever's new, right? So I put up two big old white bed sheets on my wall. I just nailed them and had a projector, and I projected the movie for me, a buddy of mine, to watch. So for me, it was fun. We were all masked up and had our popcorn and our own little corners of the house, watching these two old bed sheets hammered into the wall. It was fun, like little rascals.
And Molly, what about you?
I think I was working in Vancouver, and so which is actually where I'm from. It's my hometown. So my family was there, so they all came over, and we watched it in some weird rental.
Yeah, I think the only difficulty was that all three of us were in different places, and we didn't get to come together with the whole squad, the director, the writer, our producers, and kind of experience what Sundance is together. But I think it was a unique experience that maybe led to a lot of people watching the film.
Absolutely. And Sony Pictures Classics picked it up, which is always a good thing. It doesn't happen every day that a low-budget independent film like this gets picked up. So that was good news.
Yeah.
But it is weird that the usual theatrical buzz-building audience acclaim side of things is so muted. Is it feeling like you're back in that world now? Are you out and about?
Well, we've been able to screen the film, a number of times now. So we screened it at TIFF and just at the AFI 2 weeks ago. So just to be able to see it actually in the cinema and see it big, because this is a movie that really, it's so beautiful. I just love the way this movie looks. And so even for me, the first time Clifton and I went to TIFF, and just to see it big and to hear it, it's another experience altogether.
All right. So this movie, Clifton, you worked with the filmmakers on a previous movie, Transpecos.
I'd read their screenplay, and I, per usual, did a slew of notes. So I sat down with them on a Skype, and I said, I'd love to run these notes by you. What's important to me is not that you take my notes. What's important to me is that you understand my notes, because through understanding, we can collaborate and communicate. And maybe I'm ill-informed by the screenplay, but it was those were the genesis, I think, of our collaborative process, if you will, which is the most rewarding way to work, I think.
Do you get to do that often? I mean, is that something you get to do always?
I do my creative meetings kind of leading in with that kind of stuff to feel the water so I can open those creative doors. Every now and then you come across a screenplay that doesn't need rewrites, but moving like for the last probably 15, 20 years, I enjoy the process of working together with people. You can't make a movie by yourself, and it's like through that collaboration, that familiar feeling of like family, and creating with families is something I long for. When they'd rewritten it to favor the relationship with Jackson, it was like 60 pages. So it was a good start. and I just believe in them. I believe in the collaboration because there were a lot of issues leading up until actual filming. But I had already committed myself. So it's, if the ship was going to sink, I was going down with it.
They also wrote the role for Clifton, you know, I mean, these guys had worked with him and loved him, and they wrote it with him in mind. And I know, I mean, I think for the rest of us, just coming into it, knowing that this was a part that Clifton not just deserved, but was going to kill was, for me at least, you know, having been a fan for so long, it was something I wanted to see.
How often, Clifton, have you been able to be the lead in a movie? How many times has that happened?
Like 4. I don't actually know the number. Not too often, but you know, I think more so than that is just the authentic, organic collaboration. I think had a lot to do with the outcome and the execution of this film. You know, I mean, Moises and Molly bringing everything that they were bringing. It was all of us. You take any piece of this pie out, and it's not the same.
So let's talk. So it's a low budget movie. You're capturing this what they call backstage world of horse racing, and tell me, Molly, the kind of research you did to play this role of the trainer, and did you know much about this world, and how did you all discover and research this world?
I really knew nothing. I mean, I'd been to the track a few times when I was a kid with my dad. Which was sort of fun, but I knew nothing about it. And so when they approached me, Clifton was already, you know, involved. They'd written it for him, and they were pretty far along, I think, in the process. Clint Bentley, who directed it. So Clint and Greg are writing partners. They wrote it together, and they're just, you know, really great filmmakers. So they are guys who work in a way where they were able to sort of set up a situation, I think quite intentionally, where we had a really small crew and we were shooting on a live working track in Phoenix. So when I arrived, these guys were already there and they were working, and I came a week or so early, and they had found a woman, a female trainer, for me to hang out with. And so I would get up at 4 a.m. and go to the barns, and you know, they call it the back side of the track. I think we've seen a lot of movies about what happens at the front side, and like the horse that you don't think is going to win and then wins. But this world is something that I've never seen, and it's an incredible community. It's just fascinating characters and sort of family, and it's kind of got a carny kind of vibe to it. Like they all travel from track to track. Anyway, I went off, but that's what I did. I just hung out, I think, and we all sort of did that. So these guys would be shooting something over there, and I'd be, you know, feeding some horses over here, and that's how we did it.
So were you all horse people?
I'm not. I mean, no.
I've only ridden sort of, you know, in trails and stuff like that. Stepping next to a racehorse is a completely different level. They're bred to be skittish and they're scary, but they're beautiful. I'm an animal person. Let's put it that way.
To start. How about you, Clifton? Were you someone you've been riding for years? Yeah.
I've been riding for a while, but it got more intense on Westworld, just
right.
for the type of situations and the action of it all. You know, you're going to be doing some crazy stuff on those rodeo horses, which it could be just as dangerous on a film set doing the stuff that we were doing. But we had some of the best horse wranglers that the business has to offer, like some of the best. Anytime they'd call for me to run on one of the horses, I was always there. You give me the time and I'll show up. We didn't have the luxury of a horse wrangler on Jockey. So it was a lot of hands-on learning.
But we have real trainers and, you know,
yes.
and real people around whose horses they were. And yeah, they're incredible to be around, these animals. They're phenomenal.
So, so Clifton, if I could dig into a little bit of your character, and how you found him and related to him and found parallels in your own life. Can you talk about that? I mean, there's so much emotion and so much pain that you brought across in him, and somehow you managed to do it silently a lot of the time. Talk about, like, for example, the scene where you meet Moises and his character, and he tells you he's his son. This is one of the great scenes, I think, in the movie where we read you both somehow without the dialogue even telling us what you're thinking. Talk about how you do that and how you prepared that.
Was that our first scene, Cliff?
No, it's after. It's not right. But I'm thinking of the scene where you actually reveal that you're his son.
Oh, right, because you not to click heels earlier. To be careful with your heels.
But meaning that's the first scene that we shot together, I think.
I think it was. Having this long career, not having real like blood family, so to speak, to have somebody show up out of the blue like that is quite painful in a lot of different ways. So paralleling my own relationship with my father. I think the silences speak for themselves when you get to collaborate with two actors like Molly and Moises. You build that foundation and you live there emotionally. So even within the silences, there's a whole dialogue that's going on, emotional dialogue that's going on. Some of it you want to hide, and some of it you can't control because it's a knee jerk. And for Jackson, I just don't think he has the capacity at that moment to embrace Gabriel and to accept it. So he's a bit confused, and that kind of thing's painful. I mean, you see all this stuff with these DNA things, 23andMe and all this other stuff. People getting reconnected with family members and stuff. It's like, we didn't have that at Jockey. They didn't have the money. It would have been an easy out. So it's painful. I guess it could be the same for adopted kids or something like that. I don't know. I ran away when I was 16, so a lot of those abandonment things are easy tools to pull from. Yeah,
that stays with you.
Mm-hmm.
Moises, how did you? It's such a strong bonding that you two find in this. How did you build that?
I don't know how many people know that me and Cliff shot a film like 12, 14 years ago. So that's kind of like, it's telling of our relationship in real life, as well as in this film. For our first scene to be, something so heavy, something revealed so heavy, meaning that we might have history, and we really do. And I know how Cliff works, and I was able to work with him when I was a child. I was like 11 years old, and to come back together all these years later and make something like this was really special. So if anything, that just helped us be able to work together and me show up at Cliff's room and work the night before to really find those moments and make it believable. It's kind of hard to just tell someone to their face that you think that they're your father. So to find that moment in the spaces of silence, like you said, was special.
So Molly, you and Clifton had to find a kind of easy familiarity, as if you had been working together for decades. How did you do that? And my other favorite scene is with you guys having a good old drunken night of celebration after you discover this amazing horse.
I think this is what actors do, right? We find ways to have intimacy in a very quick amount of time and find ways to establish relationship. And I don't know how we did it. We just really liked each other. I mean, we had so much fun. I can't even tell you, we had so much fun. And not just because like it was fun, but because the work was so, the way Clifton works, the way I work, we were, and the way these filmmakers work, which is to say that they made a place for us. We were all staying in a little hotel right by the track. We would all get together every night, look at what we were doing the next day, work it through. Clifton and I would sort of go off and this bit, maybe this could be different, and talk to the guys. And so it evolved, and we were able and encouraged and given this space to kind of augment what they already had. And
because you improvised a lot, I understand. Yeah.
So the stuff that's at the rodeo, those guys sort of went out on a location scout. We were about halfway through shooting, and they came back. They were like, "We found this bar where you can actually ride a bull. Like, really, you can pay $20 and get on a bull, and we have to go shoot there." And they loved that there was sort of this fire pit, and so we didn't improvise those scenes as much as we talked about them and created them the day before. We kind of wrote them, and they kind of set the space for that. And then the bull, I mean, that was just a fluke. 4 seconds.
I say 8 seconds. He says 4.
There were a lot of those
great Molly Parker
magical moments in this film. I mean, the scene where Clifton's out with the wild horses. I mean, he can tell you a whole long story about it, but he was like humping gear to get out there. They were way out with just a cameraman and 1 or 2 people to find these horses that maybe they would get a shot with him and these wild horses. And that mare just like comes and checks him out. And so there were lots of those kinds of things. And then there are moments, the bit where Clifton's tap dancing. Clifton was like making those shoes for like 2 weeks before that scene. I don't think there was a tap dancing scene in the script, but and I love that the score at that point does this sort of old Hollywood thing, and Clifton has all that connection with his grandfather and who taught him to tap dance. So there's this movie contains what the movie is, and then it contains a lot of other joy that we were allowed to bring.
So talk about your grandfather and his legacy. You grew up in Hollywood in a way. He was an actor, and he worked on Rio Bravo with John Wayne.
That's one of my favorites. That's a big fave for a lot of people, the Howard Hawks film. He was one of the earlier contract players for John Wayne in Bat Jack Productions, which was his company. And he'd started entertaining from the age of 6, 7 years old in vaudeville in Texas, like a Mexican vaudeville. And he had an opportunity to be on a game show with Groucho Marx called the You Bet Your Life Show. And it was through that he was discovered by Wayne Morris, and then that led to John Wayne. So, but he'd been dancing and playing instruments since he was a child, and he was adamant about all the grandkids doing something creative, like going out, whether it's dance, modern dance, tap, jazz, musical instruments, and an academic education, because he himself could not read. And he was the one voice that told me I could act. Just the one person that said, yes, you can, when everybody said no.
Did he get a chance to see, to witness some of your success?
He got to see, we watched Capote, and then he said he could die a happy man now, because I'm close to making it, because I don't call him collect anymore. And then my grandma got to see the long version of Jockey.
Oh,
yeah, we watched.
So talk about some of the challenges of making a really low budget project? I mean, there's good things. You're mixing with the real folks, and you're mixing non-pros with pros, which is, you know, able to be immersed in the world. But there's downsides to that too, which have become all too apparent in recent months. Talk a little bit about what you guys put at risk. You know, almost the dangers. It doesn't have to be this specific project, but in general, what you guys are concerned about in terms of actors being safe on set.
I think it's a big difference, you know, in independent film between making a film where you are under enormous pressure to make your days and get everything done in this really tight and short amount of time, I mean, which you always are in independent film. In Jockey, we sort of had this strange luxury where, because the crew was so small, we could move quite quickly through things, and because they wanted to shoot mostly early in the morning and at twilight, that there felt like there was space in the day. And these guys were really careful. You know, I never rode a horse. I mean, you didn't get on those horses. I mean, these two did briefly, but they were on it and concerned about that stuff.
Also, it was a live racetrack too. So in part, we were somewhat beholden to the races and not wanting to not leave a footprint of any sort, because it is dangerous. But on any independent film, I've jumped in the water with alligators. I've done all kinds of crazy stuff, but they're indies. And I think most real artists, you know, they'll roll that dice. You know, it's dangerous, but you're going to do it for the sake of art. If, you know, like not every film's going to demand that kind of preparation and commitment. But, you know, when you fall in love with an indie and the project and the people you're working with, it's hard to say no, whether you got a stuntman or not. You know, you want to make it look real as possible.
But before we go, Clifton, you must feel really good about being able to show everybody what you can do and move us and get this extraordinary reaction that you've had. As they say on many red carpets, and you may hear more, how does it feel?
It's very humbling. It's very humbling, and it's an honor to have this family with me. You know, Molly and Moises and Clint and Greg again. It's like, and our tiny crew that gave 100%. They give every single percent of what they had to give. So to have this film celebrated, literally the little film that could, with the budget that we had, is I don't really have the words for it, because it just chokes me up, and I just don't, not even in Spanish. I couldn't even tell you.
Thank you very much, everyone. It was a pleasure.
Very great.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.